Hello. So I've just been playing around with some data, and I've cooked this graph up. So this is the coronavirus UK death rate since 1900 to 2020, and I thought it was interesting because so the coronavirus is this is my first video on the coronavirus, and it's a very controversial topic, and people have strong opinions on both sides. Generally, for the sake of transparency, I will admit that I lean on the side of thinking we've overreacted, but I'm not. I don't believe we shouldn't have reacted at all. And anyway, the point, when I look at this graph, I see arguments that both sides could use, people who think we've underreacted and people who think we've overreacted. Because basically, this is 2020, this is a big old spike. So I've built this from all of the data from the Office of National Statistics UK, and that's a big old spike. Now, there's two ways of looking at this. People who think we've overreacted could quite easily manipulate this data and say, well, compared with, there's all kinds of ways you can say, well, it's not so bad compared with all of this, it's not so bad. Whereas people who think we've underreacted would say, well, hang on a moment, this is where we should be, and human beings are like relative creatures, and so that's a kind of a shock to the norm. So you've got that. Now, I tend to kind of look for ways to kind of downplay it, because this is another graph. You see this sometimes on the BBC. There's lots of ways you can manipulate data to look shocking. So this is just pure excess deaths, when it isn't. This isn't the rate. This isn't adjusted for population, and so this is pure numbers. And you look at that and you go, well, this is World War II, Depression, Spanish flu, World War One, and you go, wow, well, it compares with that. It's terrible. And of course, in the numbers, it does seem terrible, but then you've got more population, and when you adjust for the death rate, it doesn't seem so bad. And so on this graph, here's World War One. That's the Spanish flu, Great Depression there, I think, and that is World War Two. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to present the data, and you can respond to it as you wish. Personally, there's lots more to be said about this. I think it shows that we've overreacted, and because there's more to be said about this spike as well. One other thing to say about this spike is that, well, firstly, this is excess. These excess deaths. Well, no. The first thing I'll say about it is, these deaths here, in that spike, this spike, and this spike, were mainly young people. Now, I don't think this is a harsh interpretation of it. Some people might think it is, but if the average age of people dying here, I don't know the exact, but I've looked into it a little bit, and it seems to be quite young. An average number seems to be around about 28 years old for World War One, Two, and the Spanish flu. Is about 28 years old, and that's a long way from the life expectancy there's about 55 here, about 60 there, 65 there, something like that. Whereas here, the average age of coronavirus deaths is 82, and the life expectancy is about 82, roughly. So and I've actually done a graph that corrects for that. Now, this is a very crude graph, but this is, I basically corrected for years lost. So this is because, if you're dying at your average age of 28 and you could have lived, your life expectancy is 55, this is a lot of years lost, whereas here it's not many years. And again, this is one way you could say I'm manipulating the data, but then in another way, this is a way of seeing it. This is years lost. Now, this is a very crude graph because I've only used the data for these three peaks, and then basically I worked out the excess deaths the proportion of the total deaths that the excess deaths constituted, and just assume that they were the deaths that died at the young age. All the other deaths I assumed were average age, life expectancy 1-to-1, all the way through everywhere else, and including 2020, because average age of excess deaths 82, life expectancy 82. But these, where you had excess deaths here, of ages 28, I just adjusted to it. I think I've done the maths right there, but that's gives you a sense of the tragedy of, like, these are the years of life lost. But again, I don't know whether that's right or wrong to adjust like that. It seems to me fair. Another way of looking at the graph is like this. So this is ranked. I ranked all the death rates since 1900. The best death rate ever was 2011, 8.73 per 1,000 people, I think it is, were dying. And these are all ranked. 2020 is just above 2,000 here. 2020 10.34. So 2020 is about like there, out of them all ranked. So it's, when you put it like that, it doesn't seem that bad, does it? Now, am I just using the data wrongly, or is that fair to say that? It doesn't seem like, when you think about the extreme measures we've done, the extreme measures that we've gone to for that, or for that, it seems excessive to me. But somebody else could say, yes, but what about the extreme measures for that, or for that? Seems, But personally, I think that's a true graph. I think that's a closer representation. If I could get more data and fill it out, it would be better. But I think that's a closer representation, and especially that's fairly fair. Anyway, and so that's the data. I'll go through where I got all the sources from and everything in a minute. The only other thing to say about that as well is that so excess deaths, we've got like about 100,000. No, so it was excess deaths was about 89,000. This is Office of National Statistics for 2020. We don't know whether all of those were coronavirus. It could have been the case that some of those excess deaths were a result of the reaction to the coronavirus, which is to say that some people might have avoided going to the hospital because of fear of the coronavirus and then dying at home. And there were some other things I was going to say, but I can't remember. But this is the video I might make next, because I did another little... I was just starting to have a look at the amount of people who dropped off a hospital. So this is from about, I don't know, 2010. This is UK emergency A&E attendance. This is the A&E attendance, and this graph here is the emergency admissions. And it's about the same. And basically, this is March here. This is March and April 2020, and the amount of people who just stopped going to A&E dropped off massively. Built back a bit, but this is a huge drop. This is a huge number of people. Now, I'm going to go into this tomorrow, but the proportion of this number of people who end up dying is about, I think it's about 1%. And this proportion of people who go to emergency rooms is about 5%. It's a lesser number. You've got about 500,000 there. You've got about 2 million people. This is per month. 2 million people a month. And 1% of them will die. So all of these people here, they're dying, presumably 1% of them are still dying at home, and there is data to show that, and I need to look into it, because presumably you would expect there to be, you go to hospital to increase your chances of survival, and if you don't go to hospital, presumably your chances of survival are going to be less. So there should be some excess deaths you'd imagine would be there. That's a big old number of people not going to hospital, but I'm going to look into that data tomorrow. Anyway, that's all I wanted to show. Let people know, let people decide what they want. I might upload this spreadsheet as well, so people can have a look at my data and how I've done it. This is all the links where I've got it from, so I'll put all the links underneath. Overview of the UK population. This is so that goes from 1951 to 2040. That's the estimations, and it's got all the data there. UK population. I had to fill in a few before that. 1901 to 1941. You've only got every 10 year population, and then I filled in. Oh, that one's gone. Every 10-year population, then you fill in the gaps. The 2020 population, I worked out as the mid-year population. I actually went quite low because the mid-year population. What did I put? Overview of UK population, ONS estimates. Yeah, so some of these places, Statista and Worldometer, had the population at 67.89. I could have used that number and made the death rate look smaller, but I didn't. I went for what I thought was the mid-range. The estimate was 67.28. I got it as 67.20, and I got it as 67.28. And I'm pretty sure I found it online somewhere, and I don't know whether they've taken it down now or readjusted it. Maybe they were provisional, but it's something around there. There's the mid-range, so I think I've got it right. Vital statistics in the UK. That's birth and deaths. That's death rate in the UK that goes back like loads of years. That does a lot. I think goes back to like 1800s. I think deaths registered, and this is his 2020 deaths. The whole year of the deaths registered. Another thing to say, yeah. So this is to get your 2020 numbers. You have to go to the England and Wales get theirs. You have to go to the National Records of Scotland as well, and Northern Ireland, NISRA, to get your numbers. I have seen some people doing graphs, playing around with these graphs, and what they do is they take the figures from England and Wales, and then they get the death rate by dividing it by the entire UK population, and that's not technically right. You've got to get everything in there. The average age of people dying, 82.4 years. I haven't super double checked this. It seems legit. Oxford University, Office of National Statistics. Seems about right, but I don't know, could be wrong, but that seems about right. It's about 82. Life expectancy in the UK is around about 82 as well, I think. And what's all this? English life tables. Life expectancy, I think this is how I figured out the life expectancy on when it was in the earlier years, in the 1950s and 60s. And this is this is ages of people died in war was 27, but this is just one study that was done in Lancaster. That was a kind of an average age, and this is the influenza, 1918 Spanish flu, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They had the average age of about 28 there. So it's just rough. This is just me thinking on the fly. But anyway, that's it. Okay. See you later.